All right, guys. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing well today. Today we got our lovely Ibby here today. He plays Hunter Showdown as of late. We have met him via Minecraft a long time ago. I want to say it was about a year, maybe 2 years ago. I'm not too sure how long it's been, but it's been a while. And we're kind of here to talk about his life journey a little bit, see where life has taken him to this point, what he's got going on in his life currently. I know that he does work in a hospital, so I'd like to get into that topic eventually. So, but anyways, I would like to welcome everybody to Ibby to the stream, guys.
Hello.
So first things first, Ibby wasn't able to get his webcam working today, so you're gonna be looking at his lovely little grin there, and you guys can imagine that his lips are moving. When I can, eventually, I will move his lips around. I will try to move his lips around. So we'll see.
Try.
Yeah. It's gonna be a try. So Ibby, how you doing, man? How's the weather where you're at, man?
It's been gloomy these past couple of days here in Canada, Ontario.
Ooh, yeah. What's the temperature? Out of curiosity.
Right now, let me look at my phone. It's been one of those things where it's hotter during the day and then cooler during the evening. So right now it's 8 degrees Celsius.
Us Americans don't know what the fuck Celsius is. What is that?
That would be 46.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Yeah, here in the States, I'm like right on the border of Ontario, Canada. So,
okay.
Well, not right on the border. I'm like 6 hours away, but my state I live in is kind of close, and it's about 60 degrees here, so it's a pretty nice day actually. It's like perfect weather. So. Yeah, dumb Americans. We are Americans are kind of dumb. I won't lie. So what you been up to, man? I know that you work. I know that you've been streaming. I see that you've been streaming a lot of Hunter Showdown a lot lately. And how's that been? How do you like that game?
It's been so fun. So I'm a very FPS heavy guy, and I'm very competitive in video games too. I find once I get into a game, I get really passionate about it. Okay. So I started off with games like Counter-Strike, right? And then I kind of go through phases, almost like I get bored out of this game, or I complete it, so to say. You know, it's almost like you're playing a campaign and then you finish the game and then there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Or it gets repetitive. So now I moved on to Valorant, and because it was the new hype, everybody, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
And then I got bored out of Valorant, and then I jumped into Hunt. It's a very, not a lot of people know about the game Hunt Showdown. It's also like an FPS PvE PvP game type deal, and it's very the community is pretty small, which I like. I find it's very tight knit. The amount of times I meet a person that I know in a game, because you can talk in game. There's global chat.
Yep.
So there's a big chance that you meet a big streamer in your game, or you'll meet a friend or something. So it's really cool.
That is pretty cool.
That interaction, yeah.
That is definitely pretty cool. I do gotta say, as people are mentioning it in the chat, you do have a very soothing voice. I think that's probably the best characteristic out of you. Out of everything, I think your voice is the best. I love it.
Thanks.
It's very radio quality. It's very just smooth. You know what I mean? I could listen to it, bro. Yeah, definitely. So I kind of want to, before we go into too far and kind of going down this Twitch rabbit hole a little bit, I kind of want to know how was your week? How was your week this week? If you had to rate it out 10, how was your week? It's a Friday,
actually,
so it's getting closer.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I'd say about an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. That is pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that includes everything, work, stream, everything. Okay. So it's been pretty good overall.
Yeah, so speaking of work, I kind of want to get to that, but let's get into that a little bit later. I kind of want to start off with what your upbringing was like getting to that field. I feel like I remember, if I remember correctly, that your father is in the medical industry as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my father was a anesthesia technician, so he worked in the OR,
So
and my mother, pardon,
what is he?
an anesthesia technician. So he was like the anesthesia doctor,
Oh, okay.
basically.
Yeah, put you to sleep. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then my mom was a nurse, so they kind of fell in love together in the hospital,
That's
working together, very
that's
cliche, but
that's how it
very, very
goes.
corny, but it goes like that. Yeah. So I was bound to be, in that, I was their firstborn child. So I was bound to be the kid that would end up being a doctor, right?
Hmm.
Um, I'm not a doctor, by the way, not yet, at least. Trying to get there. It's a long way.
Yeah, it's years
Um,
of schooling, right?
yeah, it's very tough, and I'm kind of late to it in terms of like other people. Like there's people that know right out of high school. They're like, okay, I want to be a doctor, and then boom, they go take their health sciences, and then they take the CAT, and then they go get into med school. I wasn't one of those kids.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
So
but in term,
I was gonna
no,
ask.
go ahead.
So how old are you at this point then, if you don't mind sharing?
I actually don't tell people how old
Okay.
I am.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah.
Um, can we
I
get
can
like
tell
can
you
we
like
range?
off stream. Yeah, I'm in my 20s.
Okay, okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. That's okay.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
not in my like some people think it's funny because I keep it kind of mysterious too on my own stream.
Hmm.
So people because a lot of people look at me as like almost like a big brother or like even a fatherly figure.
Well, you got the voice
So
for it, right?
yeah, yeah, and I give them like I find there's a lot of young audiences, like a lot, right?
Yep.
So giving them advice, like helpful advice, some of them are going, especially times like these where, online school is a big thing and a lot of kids with anxiety and stuff, it's hard for them. So giving them like advice how to keep them like inspired or motivated, you know what I mean? At
Yeah.
times like these, I find that helps. So they've always looked at me as like an older person, but I'm not that old, okay?
Well, you're to the point where you're just at the cusp of being able to experience all those life situations and
Yeah.
then still have this impact your life. So there's like people that are going through high school right now or middle school and stuff like that where they're missing years of important development as far as prom and school dances and just the social interaction, either positive or negative, that comes with that because they are kind of secluded away from everybody. They're just kind of stuck in their houses, And because
Yeah,
of
for
that,
sure.
internet's very brutal, right? We see kids nowadays are very brutal on the internet. They're not very um, compassionate. I feel like that's partially part of the reasons we're spending too much time away from each other, not so much time communicating. Which is part of the reason why I started doing this is because personally in my life I get conversation outside, but not like this, not where it's more discussing life and situations. And I felt like just felt like it was the right time, right place for me kind of situation. But
Hmm.
so to kind of go back into it, so growing up, did you get a lot of pressure from your parents on school, like that they wanted you to go into this field, or was this field just kind of um, because understandably both your parents being in the medical field, I feel like there's got to be some inherent pressure, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like so like I feel like I'm not they didn't force me into it necessarily, but they've always almost like hinted at it, you know what I
Okay.
mean? And them being in the medical field, like I've had times where my dad will, their hours are crazy, right? Mom works 12-hour shifts, dad sometimes sleeps at the hospital, right?
Yep.
So I've had to multiple times as a little kid had to go with them sometimes for a couple of hours and just sit in a room, or a lot of the medical staff comes in and out and say hi to me, so I was exposed to that environment. And I guess I kind of liked it, and I was always told, like, growing up, I guess, like, over and over, like, you'd be such a good doctor, like you have the personality for it, you're really caring, so it kind of gets in there, almost subconsciously. But I'm not saying that they like forced me into it. I also like wanted it as well, like I can see myself doing that. It's more of like when I thought about how much work it is and how much pressure there is on your shoulder, is when I was like, oh, I don't want to, you know? So there was a point in my life where I was like, I don't really, I wasn't sure, but then now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And if I fail at it, that's okay. I'll just try it again, or it'll lead me somewhere else.
Yeah, I found in my own career development that you kind of fall into situations and then it's either taking the opportunities that arise or postponing those opportunities until you find a different opportunity that's better suited at that time. Um, I think majority of people don't really go into thinking what they're going to go into. I think they just kind of fall into it. So that's kind of fair,
Yeah,
especially since you already had that much influence on the outside and then being exposed to it at such a young age, you already had a sense of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? You already felt comfortable. You already felt welcomed in that situation or in that environment. So it felt a little bit more like home compared to,
hmm,
so forth, because that was your second home, right? Because you're saying you spent all
yeah,
this time at the hospital and all that. So it's kind of your second home. So
yeah.
what are you currently doing at the hospital? Like, what do you do? I don't
So
think I know.
I work with intensive patient transfers.
Okay.
So any patients that, like, organ donors, or patients that need, for example, like this hospital doesn't have the facilities that this patient needs. So I'm responsible for transferring that patient to a different hospital, like whether it's on a helicopter, on our truck, and if I'm not doing anything, if there's no transfers, then I'm stationary at the hospital, mainly in the intensive care unit.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you were aware, but I was in the hospital for like a couple weeks actually. Back in the end of September. I went. So it was me and the wife's anniversary, right? So we went skydiving for our anniversary, and right after that we had like a little trip. No, that was at the end of our trip actually. But so yeah, I went. No, was that? No, that was 1 week. Okay, so then the following week we went over, like, we got this Airbnb with some friends over in the state next door, and we did some like kayaking and gun shooting and stuff like that, American stuff, right? So we did that, and so like that's Friday night. I had the worst stomach pain I ever felt in my life. Like I was gripping the sheets, I was sweating on and off. It's just like
Hmm.
really bad, and I didn't know what was going on. I was kind of feeling this pain all week, but I wasn't too sure because it was like kind of subtle, like a little bit of ibuprofen, maybe a little bit of allergy
Hmm.
medicine, made it just like disappear, right? So I think it was Saturday. It kind of went away. It wasn't too bad. Sunday, it wasn't terrible, but it was starting to come back a little bit. So I made a doctor appointment, and I wasn't going to be able to get in until Wednesday, just to get checked out, see what's going on. And I get a call. I had to work that Sunday night because I had a guy call in. So I
Hmm.
went. I went into work. I covered for this guy, and then I got a call that Monday morning. So I only had like 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep. And they're like, "We need you to come in because this could be serious, and if it is serious, you know, we need to take care of it right away." So I'm like, "All right." So
Hmm.
I go in, and they're like, we think it's going to be an appendix issue or whatever. So yep, it was. They thought at the time it was just my appendix was like swollen or infected, so that they
Hmm.
were just going to remove it. Well, they had to give me the COVID test because it was during the whole COVID situation, and well, I ended up
Yeah, yeah.
coming back positive at the same time. And then at that point, they're like, okay, well, we gotta do surgery regardless. They put me under, make me get the surgery. Well, while they were doing the surgery, they busted my appendix, so that just spilled everywhere. So they had to clean it all up.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So did you have appendicitis,
Yes.
or?
Yep. I had appendicitis, and then
Okay.
because it was after talking to the doctor the next day, he basically said that my appendix was actually leaking, and what they saw was actually it was technically infected, but it was my body trying to like secure it. So he was saying it was like making a mesh or something around my appendix, trying to cover it up, trying to cover
Hmm.
the leakage, and by doing that, it like connected to like some of my other organs. I think it was like I want to say a little bit on my it connected a little bit to my bladder, a little bit of my intestine, and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
so I was feeling a lot of pain when I was going to the bathroom, which kind of explains why. And then
Yeah. I mean.
yeah, so they took it out, whatever. And then that night, I had bleeding everywhere. Like one of my stitches, I had
Hmm.
stitches where one of the ports were because they went through. Was it stereoscopic? I think
Did you have a catheter hooked up to you
I ended up having
as
to get a
well?
catheter hooked up to me because I that first night I woke up. It was around 4 o'clock in the morning. The nurse came to check up on me, and she's like, "Oh my God, what's all this blood?" I was like, "What blood?" And I looked down, my whole side just covered in blood, my legs covered in blood. I was like, "Holy shit, that's a lot of fucking blood."
Yeah.
And so I was like for like a week, I was on the verge of getting a blood transfusion. I was like 0.3 away from getting a blood transfusion, but I felt like shit the whole time. So they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to put a catheter in you. I was like, this is awesome. I just fucking hate this. And then the day after surgery is when my COVID symptoms started acting up. So I was like in and out of like, yeah, it was like the worst 2 weeks of my life. I just wanted the hell out of there towards the end because all I did was sleep and just felt terrible. But anyways, so that was my experience in the hospital. Never want to go back. I mean, it's kind of hard because like I understand that the nurses probably get a lot of shit they probably have to deal with because in my situation they had different nurses every time. Like every nurse, it was a different nurse every day.
Yeah, 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Probably by 7:30 you had a different nurse.
So I kind of wish they gave me like at least the same nurse every time because I felt like a lot of times the other nurse would come in and she wouldn't kind of know what was going on, but like if I had issues previously, they wouldn't like. I feel like they didn't know. Some nurses were awesome, you know, I got along with really well. Then some other nurses were kind of rude a little bit, so I don't know if they were just having a bad day or not. I tried to think to myself like, you know what? They probably have a lot on their plate. They probably have a lot of shitty fucking patients, you know. I'm sure that's kind of how it goes, but yeah, so it was rough. It was definitely a rough situation for me at least. So then so you're basically dealing with the transfers, right? You said?
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you want to do then? Or okay, what's funny? Yeah, tell me.
Sorry, I was gonna say what's funny about you like saying those 2 weeks the hospital never again is that we actually say like a lot of nurses, especially when we patients get discharged and stuff. It's funny because when you work at a grocery store or like any like customer service type thing, you know, they'll be like, you know, thanks for coming, you know, come again type thing. But in a doctor's or sorry, not a doctor, at a hospital, we're like, yeah, we love having you here, but we never want to see you again. You know, so it's kind of funny that you said that. And it's true about the nurses thing. Like, I find some nurses that have been at it for a while, they kind of, you know, some of them are usually older, you know, they're more blunt, more rude, so to say.
That's fair.
And then some younger ones aren't like that. But it's also, it depends on them because a lot of nurses, you're not their only patient. They got tons of more patients probably calling them constantly, wanting, you know, anything from a glass of water to wiping their butt.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So,
that's true. That's what I try to keep telling myself during that situation.
yeah. So
was
it's,
like,
I would say that you were an amazing patient then, because you're considerate that way.
yeah. Well, I never called anybody to go to the bathroom. They told me to call somebody every time I had to go to the bathroom. I was like, I can do this. I just grabbed my thing that whatever that had the like
The
more
pole?
the pole with the morphine or whatever, all that shit in there. I just grabbed that and just slowly walked.
You went to, wow,
Oh, it was
look at
rough
you.
though. Yeah, it was rough though, man. I
Yeah.
tell you. Because after they took out the catheter, that is. Like, the first week I had the catheter, it was kind of nice because I didn't have to go to the bathroom and all. But, like, the first,
Yeah.
like, 12 hours with that in there, it was just very uncomfortable. And when he was putting it in, it was real uncomfortable. Because they didn't even tell me if they're going to do it. He just came in, he's like, you ever have a catheter before? I'm like, what? No? He's like, well, you're getting one right now.
Flopped.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, God, here we go, man. Like,
Oh,
my body did not want it, dude. My little guy was
Oh, yeah.
retracting. He was retracting
Yeah.
as far. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
nope,
no.
nope.
It's a very I would not chat if you don't know what we're talking about. Do not look up a picture of a catheter. It is not something pleasant
No, it's
to look at.
well.
Yeah.
The weird thing is when he put it in, I thought I was like pissing all over him, you know, because it just felt like it's just. I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit, dude, I'm
yeah.
going. Like I don't want to, you know, get a line. He's like, oh, it's all good, man. It's already in. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh.
it's a weird feeling. Yeah, I know. Like a lot of patients would be like, I'm peeing. Like, you know, I'm peeing myself. Like, no, you're good. Like you're doing your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was weird. I mean, now I can say I've done it. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it was still uncomfortable per se. I think the COVID test was the worst. I don't know if it's just a lady that gave it to me or not, but she just like really went up in there. Yeah, she went because she went in both noses and she was real far and just.
It's always uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was coughing all over her, and I found out I had COVID. I felt bad. I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry," because I was just coughing, you know, because I was like choking on it. You know, it was so bad.
Yeah.
But dang. Okay. So, anyways, what's your other? Actually, before we even get that, we never got into like. So, what would your preferred profession in the medical field be then? Like, what would you actually want to do medically? Like,
So yeah, so I would love to be either an ER doctor or a family practitioner.
Okay.
And it's funny because those two professions are like the hardest because you got to know everything. You know, ER doctors, they diagnose the patient right then and there, and then they send them to see somebody else. So it's one of the hardest ones to get into. But it's, I don't know what is it about it. I guess I've seen them work, right? Being in a hospital, what's nice about it. I took this as like not as a full time job, as like a part time job, just so I can. I actually started off volunteering,
Hmm.
and then I slowly got into it. So I took this job essentially to make connections and see like what's it like to be in a hospital. See the environment, see how I feel. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Um, and learn obviously. So I learned a lot, and I've made friends with doctors, and they've told me and talked to me about like how their journey of being a doctor and stuff.
So
And
do you want
surprisingly,
the? I was gonna say, do you want
pardon?
the? Do you want the? I guess it kind of comes down to: do you want the rush of the ER, or do you want something more laid back and more connected? Right? Because that's probably the two
Yeah,
difference between the two.
Yeah, exactly. But some you could do both as well. Like you can start off somewhere and then go somewhere else.
Okay.
Originally, I actually applied to be a medical officer in the army, in the Canadian Army. There was an opening, and they needed people, especially when COVID started happening.
Mm,
They
yep.
were actually doing a sign bonus, like if you sign up now, we'll pay for your tuition and stuff. I was like, dude, that's amazing, paying for my med school and stuff. That's great. So I actually signed up to be a medical. That's like the term there. You're a doctor, but you're just in the army. But it's called a medical officer.
Okay.
And I actually got accepted, but then I never ended up going because my parents needed help. We were moving during December, so I was
Hmm.
like, I can't. So I had to turn that down, and honestly, probably for the best because I was kind of like in a rush. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do it. I want to do it. It's cool. I'm serving my country, and I'm gonna be a doctor at the same time. But then I also found out, just speaking with other like veterans, they were telling me like, yeah, once you get into that business, it's really hard to get out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
So it's kind of like a
I'm
door.
kind
The door opens for you, but
yeah,
then it's kind of kind of shuts behind you a
yeah,
little
it's
bit.
kind of hard to get out, and you're not home a lot and stuff. I'm always abroad, because in the thing in this, they sell it to you to make it sound, nice, and it did sound nice because they were like, you'll be abroad for 2 years at least, then you'll come back, but that's not the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
I'm kind
fair.
of glad that I didn't end up taking that route. So
So you guys moved. Was it just due to
we
work?
just moved houses.
Okay, just
Yeah, we moved. We moved. We're closer to work now, which is nice. And my parents bought their house, because we were renting before, so that's a
okay.
big thing for them. And we figured we'd all just combine our income and just buy a nice house and work on it together. So it
Yeah.
works out. It's nice.
No, that is definitely nice. Because I mean, granted, do you have any siblings, or are you the only child?
I do have one sibling. We're like over a decade apart, so there's a big age gap.
Yeah, that is a big age gap. Younger or older?
Younger.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have one brother that's like over a decade old, and then I have a middle-aged brother. We're all about like 6 years separated, so there's a pretty big
Mhm.
gap, and because of that, we grew up not very close because we were all hitting different stages in our lives,
Yeah.
pretty drastically. So because of that, it's kind of like I kind of wonder sometimes like what if we actually like grew up closer, age-wise, but kind
Hmm.
of like how it is. So like, so I take it you guys are pretty. Are you guys
Yeah,
close or
we're not. We have that like family bond, so to say. Like we love each other, we care for each other, right? We think of each other,
just not
but we're
hanging
not
out
like
kind of thing?
hanging out all the time. Cause like he's on the computer playing Roblox, and
Oh yeah, I'll
I'm looking
pass.
at emails. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
I'm my own thing. So it's like I don't like sometimes I can bring myself to that level, and I'll go along with it. I'll play. I actually plays Minecraft too. He plays Pixelmon. So I'll go there with him. I'll play with him, but you know you can't do it all the time. It's hard.
Yeah, no,
But I
that's fair.
figured like in like 10 years time. He'll be in high school, and we'll relate more, and
Well,
I'll
that
try to I'll be there with him more.
I
I
was
don't
gonna
know though.
say otherwise. You could just become a lovely little Roblox streamer, and then you guys have something to relate over.
True, true.
I
Uh,
hear that actually I know one guy that actually made partner off of Roblox. I just could never do it myself. I'm like, man, that is
I can't.
insane.
I can't.
No, there's no way. It's just too hard.
I'm very like I can be very like child friendly, or like PG, but I can't do it all the time.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it at all, man.
It's hard for me.
So let's kind of like change course here a little bit, and I kind of want to know about like some other side hobbies. We know that you game. We know that you do medical stuff. So what else does Ibby do on his like free time?
So, COVID kind of screwed over my hobbies. I'm not gonna lie to you,
So they're very
because
social hobbies or what?
yeah, yeah. So I was telling you before stream, but I signed up to a rock climbing gym, and I was starting, to try to make connections there, make friends, right? And then COVID hit and it's closed. So there goes that. So I don't really have any other hobbies. Most of my hobbies are just involves like almost like biking with friends and stuff. We have a lot of bike paths here, and they all lead to like the Parliament Hill downtown, all to these like scenic places. So I would just bike with my friends and stuff like that. Because it was nice. It's very social stuff, but COVID kind of hit me with that. But there's also, not to hate on it that much, but there's also, I guess, some advantages or a happy side of that. I started reading more, during COVID. I picked up cooking more and
I
gardening.
yeah, I do see you're a
So
big foodie. I see you post pictures constantly of food. I'm like, a man at my heart,
yeah,
man, because I love cooking myself. I love making good food.
yeah,
I
I'm
think I
still, I'm
gonna
at the
say
beginning of my path, but
the beginning.
I'll get there. I
Well,
haven't hit the I haven't hit the grill yet. I haven't
okay,
reached that stage. The dad on the grill, not
yeah,
yet. Maybe this summer.
okay, yeah, because I mean, I started off my career being a chef at a restaurant, so I did that for quite a few years,
Wow.
and so yeah, I constantly make food, and lately I've been playing around with like bread, so I've been making my own tortillas,
Oh
stuff
yeah.
like that. So, but yeah, dude, I love me some food. I think I actually posted it on Twitter the other day. Like, I don't know how anybody cannot love food, because you always hear
Yeah.
about people like,
It's
food's okay. It's like food's okay. Like,
no, no. Food is, dude. It changes your whole mood. I'm telling you.
yeah,
I just. And it also depends on the food you eat too. Like if you're eating trash, garbage food, you're gonna feel like that too.
yeah,
You know. If you
that's
eat
true.
like good food, you're gonna feel amazing after, right? You might,
Yeah.
I truly stand by that. Like even when I'm playing video games,
Hmm.
if I'm if I haven't eaten all day and stayed like hydrated, drink water and stuff throughout the day, and or if I skipped a meal, I get like hangry. I start doing bad in
Yep.
video games, and I feel, I don't feel myself, so to say.
Yeah, I have
So,
like one food group that like I can have a little bit of, but if I have too much of it, I start to feel sick. So, which is usually like pasta, grains, kind of food. So, the wifey loves like spaghetti and all that, but for me, like if I have too much of it, or even if I just have like one bowl of it, I just start to feel really sick. Like I don't know if I'm like slightly allergic to it, or it's just not. It's probably just not my food type. Honestly, my body's just maybe not meant for it, but. That is the one I try to stay away from. So, what's your favorite food
mm.
then?
Oh man, that's a really tough question because I'm both from the Middle East
Mm-hmm.
and Asia. So I'm very
Mm.
food cultural. So I like a lot of food.
So, you're a curry guy or like more like a Thai guy?
I can do both. Like both to
Fair.
me
That's
stand
fair.
on the same plate. But recently though, I've been craving a lot of like lobster or crab or shrimp, like a
Mm.
good dish of those because um my mother is allergic to anything crabby or shellfish.
Okay.
So I've never, which is funny because she's Filipino and they love they love that stuff, but she can't have it. She's very very sensitive to it. So growing up, never had shrimp or lobster or anything. So recently, I've been just seeing a lot of. I think I think YouTube has to do. I've been seeing these videos of like chefs making like
Oh,
this
fuck yeah.
amazing lobster plate. You know what
Fuck
I mean?
yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like been like I want to try it, And then the closest place to me is like Red Lobster, and I'm like, I don't want to eat Red Lobster. I need something authentic, something good,
So
No
you
offense to Red Lobster.
you a sushi guy then? Do you like sushi at all? Or
I like sushi, yeah, but it won't be like my first dish.
okay,
Probably like if anything like simple, probably I'll eat like maybe ramen. It's really like if we're talking like simple.
okay.
If we're talking like breakfast, there's this Arabic dish that I really enjoy called shakshuka. It's
Hmm.
basically like a layer of onions, tomatoes, and then eggs,
Oh,
with
I love
different
eggs, dude.
seasonings.
I love
Yeah,
eggs.
I love eggs. I'm a big egg guy.
I literally had eggs for dinner tonight. So
Dude, I will have eggs at 3 in the morning. Like
oh yeah,
it's
dude.
not even. Eggs
Yeah.
are just. I know some people will find that disgusting, but I don't know.
Oh, that's
I
my
love
wife.
eggs.
She doesn't like eggs. I'm like, how do you not
Yeah.
love eggs, dude? Like eggs are like the best food. Like I don't know why I love eggs so much, but like they just literally go good for any meal of the day. You can put it pretty much on anything. Like you can put it
I
in
know,
ramen, you
right?
can make a sandwich out of it, you can put it on some
Exact.
fried rice, whatever you want. You can really play around with it. So yeah, I love me
Yeah.
some of that. So we're going to kind of track back here a little bit because we're learning a lot about you, but we didn't really kind of delve into Twitch too much, and I kind of want to cover that a little bit. I kind of want to know like when did you find out about Twitch, or when did you start watching Twitch, and like what was like the first stream if you remember.
Uh, man, the first stream. So, the first stream I watched was probably like I found out about Twitch probably 2012.
Damn.
So
Okay, that's a long time
yeah,
ago. Yeah.
yeah. But
Last week.
I was one of those guys that never had like a Twitch account
Okay. So
for
just one of
years. I
those.
think
Yeah.
yeah, one of those like I would literally I don't know how I would do this, but I would look up people, I guess, or I would click a link and then I'd just watch. But that was it. And then I went through like a phase. I didn't watch Twitch at all, but I knew about it, right? And then I went back into it probably like I didn't touch Twitch for like a year because it wasn't like necessarily my thing. But I want to say like first streamers I watched, like it was mainly like streamers that play like a lot of video games like Shroud and stuff.
Okay.
Those like Counter Strike like streamers, because I would watch them like play the game and stuff. That was like my thing. And I think yeah, that's as early. I'm sure there's others, but I just can't remember.
Okay.
But I watched a lot of like YouTubers though during that time too that would stream on Twitch.
Yeah, because I was gonna say last week, we had a guest on Emma. It's not Emerald, and she also got into Twitch like around 2013, I think it was, which I thought was crazy because you guys both being younger than me, finding out
Hmm.
and watching Twitch before I even knew what it was. I don't think I found out about Twitch until like 2014, 2015. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
damn, that's crazy. Just I guess maybe just we were at different times of our lives and just I don't know, maybe just I don't know, like, cause do you remember how you found out about Twitch? Like, what it must have been through a link of someone's maybe Twitter or
Yeah, I think it was someone's like YouTube video, and
okay,
then they said that they'll be streaming on Twitch, and that's how I got into it because I didn't have Twitter back then. So that's the only way I can think of. And I wasn't a big Reddit guy either. Matter of fact, I don't understand Reddit that much really, even till this day. Like I get what it is, but I wasn't a big Reddit guy either. So it's funny because Twitch. I feel like a lot of Twitch is also like Reddit as well. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's a
that's
lot of
true.
clips and stuff that go viral.
The culture
But
is pretty similar.
yeah, they share a similar culture exactly. So yeah,
Okay,
mainly YouTube.
yeah, I think because that's how I found out about it too was through YouTube and
Hmm.
like I was big into StarCraft at the time, and I think that's when StarCraft 2 came out, like around 2013, and I got into it like around 2014, and I started playing some League of Legends and stuff like that, and that's kind of how I slowly found out about Twitch. That's when
Hmm.
Rust was pretty big back in the day, actually, and now
Yeah,
it
yeah,
like it has a resurgence now somehow, or it did for like a month, like a couple months ago, but
yeah, yeah.
other than that, it's pretty crazy. So then, with that, so what would you say your like ambitions or goals are for the future? I mean, we obviously know that you kind of want to go into the medical field. Um,
Hmm.
do you want to have a family? Do you want to continue streaming as like maybe like a hobby, like all that?
Okay, so I at one point I really wanted to do streaming. Like I wanted to make it streaming is like my biggest passion, you know?
Hmm.
I love streaming so much. I saw all these like big streamers, big YouTubers, and I saw like the potential of it of like, financially being independent and just like them being like influencers, the idea of like having influence on a generation or, a lot of people, being a positive influence, right? I really like that idea and I wanted to be that for the longest time, like right out of high school. I remember I didn't go to college for the first year because I was telling my parents like, "Oh, I want to figure out what I want to do," right?
Yep.
Because true, I didn't know what I wanted to do for school. Like I was honestly like blanked out, but a lot of that also had to do with me being so focused at the time with like YouTube, Twitch, and I just wanted to make it, so to say. And it took me like a whole year to figure out that like, hey, you don't have to make this your thing. You can still get like a job or a career at school and make this like as a side thing. And then if this works out, then you don't have to do the other thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like almost like having a plan B type thing. I don't know why it took me a year, but it did. It finally hit me. So now I do it as a hobby, as like a side thing. I've dedicated myself a schedule. I find that works really well, actually, making a schedule for yourself for streaming, and doing being a student, trying to like be a doctor in the future. So ideally, in a very like perfect world of mine, I would finish med school. I would get into med school, finish med school, become a doctor, right?
Hmm.
Have a family. Yes, I want to have kids. I'm a very family guy, so yeah, and a lot of people call me their dad. So,
Big, small?
uh,
How big of a family are we talking here?
honestly, 3 kids maybe.
All boys, all girls?
I've.
What mix?
It doesn't matter to me. I'll love my kid no matter what,
Oh,
even if
come
they're
on. That's
adopted.
that's a cheap answer, dude. That's a
Okay.
cheap answer. I want like a legitimate
Yeah, okay,
answer.
so in my culture, like in the Middle Eastern culture, ideally you'd want a guy, like
Okay.
you'd want a son, your first son to take over your land, whatever. But if I have a daughter, then I have a daughter. I can't really control it, right? Um, and I wouldn't mind adopting either. Obviously, I'd have to talk about it with my future wife. Um, I I'm all for the idea of adopting, actually. You know,
Okay.
I think that if everybody adopted, we'd have less foster children, you know?
No, that's true.
So I really encourage that, but it's again, it's up to, to my future wife and I when that time comes, but definitely want kids, want a family, and ideally I would have I'd be a doctor with a family and then I'd be a streamer too. So that would be amazing, like an influencer. And I told this to my friend the other day, like jokingly. I was like, one of these days I'm gonna have in my, how people put stuff in their bio, they're like, oh, partner Twitch streamer, or like, partner Twitch streamer, YouTuber, and dad, and then like their career, right?
Hmm.
So I wanted to put on there and be like, partner
Everything.
Twitch streamer. Yeah, I want it to be like full time doctor, streaming by day and saving lives by night. You know what I mean? Like something like
I mean, that's pretty cool.
it's,
That's
it's
cliche,
very
but it's
corny.
cool.
Yeah, it's cliche and corny, but it's like my dream. It's like it'd be cool to be able to be like the best of both worlds, kind of, because I love. I want to be a doctor and I love that. I want to help my patients and stuff. And I also love streaming and I want to influence people and stuff. And I figured, why not do both, right?
Yeah.
And then like again, in an ideal perfect world, I'd be a doctor and then my channel would also revolve around that. Like people can ask me medical questions, I can ask them, right? Or I can answer them, sorry, and I could have like a whole YouTube channel where I'm like a doctor and a gamer. The whole idea of it also just sounds so cool.
One thing I do think it's kind of cool, at least for the internet age now, is kids are going to be able to see their parents in different lights than ever before. They're going to see them more. They're just going to have more context for what their lives were like growing up. Like, for instance, my kids, like because me and wifey are attempting to have kids at this point in time.
Mhm.
So at this point, like, 10, 15 years from now, my kids are gonna be able to go back and like look at all the stuff that I created on YouTube and Twitch or whatever, and kind of get like a better context of what I was like growing up, and see some of the struggles I had day to day, or things that were going through my head and stuff like that. It's just some greater context I don't think
Oh, for sure, yeah.
kids ever had, and in
It's
turn,
like
I feel like in turn they're gonna have better, maybe even better appreciation. Kind of back to the. I feel like with my generation there was a big loss in like the elder respect kind of thing. I feel like that kind of like dwindled away, like that being the motto. But I feel like now with the internet age, everything being recorded, kids are gonna be able to see their parents, and like I said, such a bigger, broader light that they're gonna give them more. It's gonna give them more respect, I think.
oh yeah, for sure. It's like a time capsule type thing. You can see you're seeing, like, if I had the ability to see my parents when they were younger, like videos and stuff for them doing YouTube or something, or I don't know, like anything like that. It just give me a better, like, understanding of how they were brought up and where they come from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
Because a
totally
lot
agree.
of a lot of kids are kind of detached nowadays. From there's a lot of kids that are, I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of kids are very strong with their parents. Their relationship is very tight, almost like a, I know my friend, his dad's like his best friend, right?
Hmm.
But then there are some kids that aren't so, they can't wait to leave the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't have that tight relationship, and that's because it's a huge generation gap. Like, if, like, for example, I'll use myself as an example. My parents never touched technology unless it was something medically related, right?
Hmm.
So a computer to them was just something to look stuff up on, or it wasn't like to play video games or go on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So growing up, when I became so passionate about computers and stuff, I wanted to build my own computer and play video games. My parents didn't support that at all. Matter of fact, a lot of people come to my stream and see my setup. They're like, "Dude, you have such a like beefy setup. You have like a 2070 in your computer. Like, that's so expensive. Like, I mean, did your dad help you or something?" Like, no, actually, I saved up all my money and then bought all these parts myself. My computer like went through a lot of phases. Like, it started out super small on a lifeguard's budget. I was a lifeguard,
Okay.
and I built it. Yeah, it was one of those things where I told my dad, I was like, "Listen, I'm gonna do this, and you're either with me or you're not with me." And he like kind of scoffed at me. You know what I mean? He's like, "Huh, no way,"
Yeah.
And then he just saw the parts coming in, the motherboard, CPU, and he's like, "Oh my god, he's actually doing this." So then when he started seeing me build it, then he hopped in and we got that like father son bonding time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it ended up pretty well. But yeah, then again, like but still though, like when we built it, right, he knows the parts of a computer, but he doesn't know like what am I doing on it, like what's going on. So I find that I feel like me as a parent, or even you, right, you're very, what's going on in the internet. You obviously play video games and stuff. I feel like your kids will have an easier time relating to you, or you relating to them. Like, it could be things like, for example, like if you play a lot of online games, right, like you can't just pause it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not like we're,
Can't you just pause it?
yeah. Yeah,
No.
exactly. That meme, exactly. My parents are the living meme of that. Like, I can't tell you how many times they walked into my room and I'm like mid game or something, and I, especially that I play first person shooters, right?
Hmm.
There's no pause button. You're gonna
Hmm.
die.
Yep.
You're gonna let the team down, right? When I was playing Counter Strike Source, you're like, just pause it. I'm like, no, you can't pause it. They don't get that idea. So I feel like you as a parent, or me, at least we can relate to that. Like, my little brother, obviously big generational gap. He looks to me almost like a fatherly figure,
Yep.
right? So whenever he's in a game or something and he's doing what he's doing, and he's like, I tell him to go do something, or you got to do this. He'll tell me like, oh, I got to finish this. So, he's doing stuff online with his buddies. I'm like, okay, I understand. When you're done, come over here. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Whereas, like, if I was my dad, he'd be like, nope, right now, pause it. Well, you can't do that.
Yeah, let me just leg switch everybody real quick here.
Yeah, let me just DDoS to the server and
Yeah.
stop
Oh,
everything.
Jesus Christ. That's funny. So, with us talking all about that kind of stuff, like, what are some fears that you got going on inside you? Like, what are you scared about? I mean, the world being in the situation now with COVID, and wars could technically break out at any time with all the mass shootings, at least in the United States, happening continuously. Like, what is like bringing somebody like a kid into the into life? What are some fears that you have going into the future for them?
So I honestly would be afraid because, in the future, obviously, we're just going to keep developing more social media stuff. There's always going to be another app. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Every year is going to be something new, and there's something new hip and cool, right? I'm scared that, like, one day I won't be able to understand these things. You know what I mean? Like, my dad, I see it with my little brother. Like, he doesn't know what TikTok is, right? He doesn't know what Snapchat is, or Discord, or Twitch. And my brother has all those applications, but my dad doesn't know what they are. So my brother could end up wandering into something like the deep dark web or hanging out with the wrong people online. You know what I mean?
No,
Um,
that's true.
so like I'm scared, me, like, if when I grow older and have kids, I'm scared that I don't want to be like that. I want to always try to keep up with the cool kids, be hip, so to say. I hope I could basically like be close enough to my kid, or at least raise them in a good way where they know better. You know what I mean? So they don't get like scammed or end up in the wrong place on the internet, because the internet is really a scary place nowadays. Like, a lot can happen. Like, people even talk about, like, we don't need to use weapons, to start a war nowadays. Like, it could be like a cyber war. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You could just shut down a whole country, ruin its financial situation.
Yeah.
um
No, I
so
think
just
think you're right on point, man. Honestly, I think you're right on point. There's a lot of that. And like, do you watch any of the streamers that like troll the scammers by any chance, or like
yeah,
YouTubers?
I watched this guy. I watched this YouTuber, actually. He's like, I don't know what he is, man, but he pretends to be like Deadpool or
Oh,
something.
really?
And yeah, he like the exact voice. I don't know if it's like a voice changer or anything, but it's very ominous, mysterious. But he'll basically go, right. He'll find like scammers or people that are like victims of harassment or something, or abuse, and they'll come talk to him, or he'll talk to them, and he'll basically go get them justice, or like go after the scammers and give them what they deserve. You know what I mean? And
Interesting.
he'll record the whole thing, and he'll scare them. He'll get into like their games in Call of Duty or like Fortnite, and they'll be like, "What the hell?" He'll say like their name, obviously bleep it out, but he'll say that, and then they'll get so scared. You're like, "Oh my god!" And then he'll turn off the lights on and off, and he'll, like, you know what I mean?
Dude,
Or they'll be like,
I want to see. You gotta send me a link of this
"Yeah,
guy, because
I'll send you a link after." But again, it goes back to the point where it's like we don't need to be there in person fighting. You know what I mean? It's cyber, right?
well,
So
yeah. I mean,
so
were you aware that I got swatted last year?
no, I wasn't.
Yeah, I got swatted last year. That
Jeez,
just
dude.
shows you how much bullshit is going on with the internet
I
nowadays.
yeah.
I had
I was
because it was
sorry,
on,
go ahead.
yeah, because we had people, because we have the community server for Minecraft, and so one of the mods banned him because he was hacking,
Yeah.
and from there he was able to find my phone number somehow. Like, well, we ended up finding how he got my number, because I had a friend on the Discord that was able to like show me how he was able to track the information. So he was able to track it because my wife posted my link to my Twitch channel on her Facebook. So he was able to
Mm,
track that through there, and then from there he was able
yeah,
to
yeah.
continue. But
Yeah.
anyways, so he got that information, and so he was kept harassing me, like, "Let me back on the server. You're gonna regret it. We're gonna call the cops. Tell me you killed your wife. Blah blah blah, whatever." So I was like, "I'm done doing this." I turned off my phone, just kind of ignored him. And I went
Mhm.
ahead, called the cops that night, and just gave them a heads up. I was like, "Hey, as a heads up, I got this call that this guy said he was going to do this. That way, I just wanted you guys to know that in case you ever do get a call that something like this happens, you're at least somewhat like aware."
Aware. Yeah.
Well, like 3-4 months go by, and then all of a sudden I get a call, and it was. At first, I thought it was this guy again. It was like some random number. I was like, "What the fuck this guy want?" I pick it
Mhm.
up, and then they're like, basically like, "Is this so and so?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, and then I look at, I'm like, "Oh, it's this fucking guy again." You know what I mean? I'm like, "This
Oh
guy
no,
trolling me
yeah.
again." I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
stop fucking calling me. Leave me alone. You know, just
Mhm.
stop. And then you're like, well, where's your wife right now? I'm like, what? I'm like, and I hung up. So then like 20 minutes goes by, and I get another call. I'm like, oh fuck, Jesus Christ, this guy does not stop. So I answered the phone, and he was like, hey, it's the so police department. We need you to. We have the house surrounded. We need you to come outside. And I was
Oh
like,
my god.
what? I was like, dude, knock it off, dude. No, you're not. I have like, you know, a security camera and stuff like that. Like, I would see you, you know. And then I'm like, so looking at the security camera, I don't see nothing. So I'm like, so I end stream, you know, just thinking like, okay, this guy's got to be watching the stream. Whatever, I'm done today. Boom. And then I'm still
Mhm.
on the phone, kind of like, cause part of me was like, huh, this doesn't sound like the guy I remember, but I wasn't too sure. So I go outside and look out the window, and then I see a guy
Mhm.
flash his lights, and it's like, and then I hear, you know, police department, we need you to step outside with your hands up. I'm like,
Oh
oh,
my goodness.
oh shit.
It's happening.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, all right, I'm coming. You know, I'm coming out. So I step outside with the, you know, I had just my shorts on. If you want to see the video, go to my Discord. You can see I have like the little video of it on there. On there, it's like a
My
pin
goodness.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see it. But so I come out just with my shorts, just got off work, kind of thing. And
Mhm.
you know, they tell me, you know, it's snow outside because it's like middle February, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, you know, hands up to like, all right, you know, blah blah. I'm like, dude, it's a prank call that like I left the guy's voicemail or called you guys about this so months ago. Like, we know, we gotta verify, just make it easier for everybody. Come follow me, blah blah blah. So I go over there, and you know, then they handcuff me and then a bunch of guys with like, you know, the SWAT shield and AKs go storming through the house. They're like, "Is anybody in the house?" I'm like, "No, but I got 3 dogs. You know, they shouldn't bite. Just don't hurt the dogs. You know, whatever, please." And yeah, Wise just posted the link, so if anybody wants to go ahead check that out later, you guys definitely
Yeah.
can.
I just took a look at it, man. That must have been traumatic and
Yeah, it was weird.
tense.
I mean, they were very like cordial and they were very respectful and everything. They like, I understand they were just doing their job, and like
Mhm.
after talking to them, they said basically that like they got a call pretending to be me saying that I strangled my wife and whatever, blah blah blah, and that I had guns and stuff like that. So I mean, I do have gun downstairs, but like totally separate away from where I
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, yeah, it was definitely a weird situation, but it just kind of shows the reality of this of the of the world that we live in now, as far as
Mhm.
those kind of situations happening. I do like that Twitch did do shadow banning now for IP addresses when you ban a person. Um,
Yeah.
so that kind of helps. I mean, there's like a whole deal where we like tracked this, like the cops and I were like trying to track this guy back, and we like got to the point where I think me and a couple of my other people in my Discord were able to track down this guy's like house, but they didn't want to commit because it was actually in Canada. Damn Canadians.
Yeah. It was me. It was me all along.
Uh, the gig is up. That's why I invited you on. I
That's
did
why I
this.
brought him in.
Yep, wanted to confront
Been
you here and there.
exposed.
Oh man. Yeah, so I mean it's kind of
Wow.
weird, but
Yeah.
so understandably that, then how do you feel about like COVID in this point in time? Like, do you feel like we're kind of coming out of the grasp, or do you think this is going to be more like a flu situation where we're just going to have to kind of get used to it and just become accustomed to it?
I think that like so I am always the positive. I try to look at the more positive side of every situation, right?
Yep.
I think the positive of this pandemic is that people are just gonna be more aware, more clean, you know. So the whole washing your hands thing, constantly hands. I think people are gonna, it's gonna. They've done it every single day. I know me. I've done it every single day. So like, I go in places and I automatically look at the walls to look for like a hand sanitizer, because I'm just so used to like everything I do, just hand sanitize, hand sanitize. You know what I mean? Wash my hands constantly. So I feel like that's something good. Who doesn't? Washing your hands more is good.
Well,
Um,
I almost have a counter argument to that though. Isn't it good to have bacteria in your environment as well? Because to like strengthen and have your immune system like exposed to all these different things.
True, yeah, that is true, but that type of bacteria is usually like well, if you also get your flu shot, then you should be good.
True.
But when you get like the hand sanitizer, like within like a couple of minutes, your hands are gonna get dirty again, especially holding your phone. A lot of
Yeah,
people don't care about this, but your phone,
it's dirty
if
as
I
fuck.
bring, yeah, like I advise everybody to buy like a $20 UV light and just hover over your phone, dude. You will see the amount of crap is there. Like you'd be surprised, like so much, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's why at work I always some people put their phones in plastic bags or Ziploc bags, sorry, and tape it up. So they use it, but and some people sanitize their phones. They literally clean their phone before when going in and out. Same thing with their badges and stuff. But yeah, you're always that washing your hands. I mean, it depends. Again, like if you're a clean freak and everything around you is super clean and you're constantly like spraying yourself and cleaning yourself, then yeah, you're gonna have you might end up with it compromisation. But from a day-to-day basis, what we're doing, like washing your hands,
Hmm.
that's okay. You'll be all right.
Yeah, no, that's true. My biggest quirk is like at work seeing people like use the bathroom and not wash their hands. I'll
Oh
call them out
yeah,
right then. I'm like, dude,
disgusting.
you're at work, dude. Like, wash your fucking hands. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So
Yeah.
yeah, that grants me a little bit. So because personally, I hope that like COVID goes away. I don't think it's going to though. Like I hope it does, but I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
something that stays with
Every,
us.
every day, yeah, every day it's a different story. Like, one day you'll have people say, "Yeah, we're going, the numbers are going down. We're going, by the end of this month or whatever, within 6 months, we'll be looking good." And boom, you get a huge surge in numbers,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things like everyone's making predictions, but in reality, we all have to do our part, and then that's what will work. Because if we don't, it's not. We're gonna stay like this for a while.
Yeah, no, that's
But
definitely fair.
hopefully with the vaccines rolling out, right? I know, almost every day I see somebody posting like, "I just got the vaccine," which it makes me real happy. I was one of the first people to get it because healthcare workers and whatnot.
Yep.
So we got it a while back, but now seeing like my friends and people like in America get it and stuff, it makes me happy because I'm like, it's giving me hope. Like we might just be able to make it through it and have a normal life, so to say,
Yeah, no,
in
that's
terms of
that's
like,
definitely true. The wife just got hers today,
yeah,
and
it's amazing.
she's feeling a little under the weather today, but not too bad. We
Hmm.
were gonna have some people over tomorrow for some board games. Well, she was. I was gonna. I actually got my dirt bike torn apart in the garage right now, so I was gonna be working on that. But she actually
Oh
canceled
yeah,
that because she's feeling a little under the weather at the moment. So
probably for the best. Smart.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it goes. Did you ever contract COVID, or were you able to pass by?
No, as far as I know, no, I've never had COVID.
Okay.
Which is like honestly for me, I'm just like really amazed because at one point I worked like on the COVID floor because hospitals now have a dedicated COVID ward or COVID floor.
Yep.
And I've worked there like for a month straight, and we've had some really, really bad ones. And I also worked in the intensive care unit, and obviously we have there patients that are dying from COVID. So
Yeah.
and we have to gear up. We have N95s, airborne room. You step into a negative pressure room. It's very intense stuff and scary, almost.
Yeah, that was
But
my room, man. I wasn't
yeah,
allowed to leave
yeah.
my room.
Yeah, so you're probably in a private room,
Yeah.
isolated. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was
yeah,
lonely, man. I was in there. Yeah, like I just basically just watched TV, watched my phone, and slept, and looked out the window. Like,
I know,
damn,
because they won't
looks.
even let you walk in the halls or anything because you've got COVID, obviously, right?
Yeah, and everybody came in with
Um,
like masks, like the full like face shields, and
yeah,
some of them even had like a
obviously not
like a
a
respirator thing.
respirator.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
suit.
yeah,
I was like, dude, this is
it
like
depends.
intense.
I know, I know. I that's the number one thing when I interact with patients or I go into a room. I try to like, comfort them, because it's scary. Like, can you imagine you're a 90-year-old man or something with a broken hip and you've been COVID swabbed and we gotta wear PPE, right?
Yep.
So even though you might not have COVID or you might have COVID, we still have to wear PPE and treat it as if like you have COVID, right? So waking up like that, seeing us all suited up, like it's scary, Like, what's going on with me? So constantly, everyone is, the sense of comfort is a big thing, working in a hospital nowadays, because it can get scary, especially with kids too. A lot of kids are like that. We have some younger patients, sadly, with COVID. It's also scary for them, to see people gowned up like that, going in and out of their rooms. It's like probably from some scary movie they've seen. They have a far bigger
Yeah,
imagination,
like, oh
right?
my god, you're getting
You
abducted.
know, yeah, I had like this kid. He was 22 years old, and he was like vlogging me. He was like, "Oh my god, here they come!" And I was like, "Oh my goodness,
Yo,
man!"
yo,
And
what up?
yeah, yeah, exactly. He was like
Check out my
posting it on
channel.
Facebook or something, and I was like, he's like, "They're coming," and I'm like, "Dude." But he was
That's,
he was nice about it. He asked if he could record me. I was like, "Yeah, sure, do your thing." Like,
yeah,
but
whatever to make you feel better, man. Yeah, right.
yeah, because it's you're trapped in a room by yourself all day, every day. It gets lonesome.
Yeah. So then, how do you feel about like the whole situation going on in Minnesota for like all the cop trial stuff? Are you aware of any of that or been up to date? It's been all over the news, so I'm not too sure
I
how attacked.
watched I watched Trevor Noah. He's in the on the Daily Show, who was talking about it. So I've heard. I'm not much educated about it. But from him, I've heard that's going pretty poorly, actually, and they're making like excuses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, things have
Like,
been
it's
pretty
he.
tense because I live in
Yeah.
that state and I actually
Mhm.
don't live terribly far from where all the riots have been happening. So it's
Mhm.
been pretty crazy. Like ever since the Derek Chauvin situation, like I
Mhm.
forgot how long ago it was now, maybe a year ago. But yeah, the tensions have definitely been like continuously rising here in the state, and it's kind of
Yeah.
sad. Like the thing that makes me sad is like all of these private business owners, just really getting the short end of the stick. Um,
That's right. Yeah.
so it kind of sucks for them, but I also understand why they are upset. I totally understand.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, because just the other day there was another kid that got shot in Chicago. I think it was like some 13-year-old.
Yeah. It's insane. There's some, like, there's some there's groups out there that I find that are good, you know what I mean, that will riot and stuff, with no violence or anything, but there are some who, I guess, have more violent tendencies, and
Yeah,
I don't know, some people just, have that urge to, I guess, like, or maybe anger issues, maybe, I don't know, like psychologically something, so they take this opportunity to like vandalize and hit
yeah,
people and whatever.
opportunist, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like it sucks because it ruins the whole bigger picture of things, right?
Yeah,
It affects everybody.
it taints the message that they're trying to send. I think in that
Yeah,
situation,
it does. And
because
that's one of the things that, honestly, if I could change the world, I would do. Well, that's one of the big things I would do. I would make it so, like, I would make it to, because I know in other countries, like in Europe, or in even in the Middle East, we've had similar things with like black people, right? And we instead of like, kind of, I don't want to like, offend anybody, but I feel like in America they kind of just like brush it under the rug, whereas like in other countries they openly talk about it, and they're okay with it. You know what I mean? Well, they accept it almost as like, this happened. Yep, and it's like there's no tenseness. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because I've been there, I've lived in those countries, and I like I've been called like racist crap and stuff, but at least they're open about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like you. They'll say that. You know what I mean? They're very, to put it in like very blunt terms. Like, let's say I am a person of color. Well, I am Asian, and they didn't like me there growing up in that neighborhood. So they would literally tell me to my face, "I don't like you because you're Asian. You look Asian. You look like, whatever, right?"
hmm
And at least they're honest about it, open about it. Whereas, like, I find in other places in America, they're more like, almost like, they'll hide it. You know what I mean? If that
yeah.
makes sense.
The
So if I could change one thing, is like, be more. I would I would be like, make it more open. So that, at least if you don't like me, okay, cool. Let's set some boundaries. Or work our way around it, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel like
because
that's the number one downfall at least the United States is having right now is it's kind of having like a identity crisis with it all kind of going back and forth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mess. It's definitely a mess, and kind of, you know, finishing off the course here. How do you feel about climate change? Do you feel like it's real? Do you feel like it's fake? What's your thoughts on climate change?
I think it's real for sure.
Yeah, I think it
I'm
is
a
too, but you
science.
never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Is the world flat
I'm
or is it
a,
round? We're getting
yeah.
down to the deep questions here.
It's I'm a science man, so it's definitely real, and it's affecting a lot of things. Like a lot of places are getting hotter, a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
places are getting colder, drought. You know, people again and again people hear this most like almost like known phrase like, oh, the caps are melting, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it is true, like our world is changing, and it makes me sad to see that it is, you know what I mean? But sometimes change is good, you know. Again, I'm just probably the optimist in me looking at it. But again, people are, like people are trying to find ways to use less things or be more simplistic or help the environment more, and I find that a lot of companies also are trying to do that, use things that are recyclable, and I feel like if we just push that more, we might just be able to help, or at least reduce it by a lot. And we have been, so it's always nice. Actually, one good thing is, especially with COVID and climate change, all this, topics that people don't want to talk about and find it very like negative and such a downer, right?
Hmm.
It's funny because I don't have. Do you watch The Office?
Yeah, I do. I love The
So,
Office.
yeah, me too. So the actor, what's his name? John Karinsky.
Gretzky, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Jim. So John Karinsky he actually started the whole thing on Snapchat and on other platforms, where it was like he was just doing like a video of himself at home, and he was wearing his outfit, and he was just talking about the good things in the world,
Yeah,
the
he started a YouTube
positives. You know
channel
what I
off
mean?
that, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
stuff like that just makes me super happy, and I'm like, yeah, we need more of that, because it's not all sad things.
Yeah.
You got to look at the sad and the good things too, and then push on the good things, but not ignore the bad things. You know what I mean? Don't just brush global warming like under the rug, or um, or anything bad that's happened. Like acknowledge it, right? And then try to make a change to help it, so to say.
Well, I think that's like the. Oh no. Oh no. Where did it go? I just had it, and just like that
It
vanished.
just slipped out of your mind.
Shit.
Yeah,
Oh, there we
yeah.
go. It came back. Okay, so I think that's like the one downside that like media is now playing nowadays. I feel like they're like centralizing the negative too much, and
Mhm.
because of that, that and Facebook and people not like spending the equivalent time to like fact check and like get it from other sources is leading to this
Oh my
whole kind of a
goodness,
mess.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
just
people will literally chase the fame, so to say, with that. They'll hear
yeah,
one thing, they'll see one thing on Twitter, and then they'll be like,
it's true.
they'll just start talking about it everywhere, and then they're like, I'm that person that's like, okay, where did you hear this information? Like,
Yeah.
where did you get it from? And they'll tell me, oh, wow, I got it from Twitter. I'm like, oh, you got it from Twitter? Hmm.
Ooh, nice.
Interesting. Yeah. Like, we got it from Twitter. Do you hear yourself right now? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, but it came from this account and they have like X amount of followers. I'm like, I could have a 1 million follower account and tweet out that I can shit gold out of my ass. Does that mean it's true?
Well, if it is, let me know, because I'll come with a scoop, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I'll hook you up, man.
Yeah, I'll get all I can grab. Carry over. That's
Yeah,
that's
so
pretty
yeah, I
good.
agree with you on that. I would it's
Stubbornness,
funny
though,
'cause
man. They're so stubborn. Like, there'd be
I
guys
know.
at work out trying to, like, fix processes or, improve things. And you ask them, and they get all defensive and, like, oh, it wasn't me. It's not
Oh my
me. It's
god,
like,
yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying it was you, man. I'm just trying to understand what
Yeah.
happened. It's like,
You know what's funny is that Trevor Noah, he's a black guy. He's a black comedian or African comedian in the Daily Show.
yeah.
He's got his own segment. So he was talking about that actually in relation with the BLM movement, and he was saying, again, back to what I was saying, like making it more open.
Hmm.
He was like, it feels like when you talk about it in America, it's almost like they think that you're saying like, you did this, you know what I mean? This is your
Yeah.
fault, but it's like, no, it's not, man. it's not, we're not saying, so they get all defensive. They're like, no, 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 it's not me, But it's like it was more funny when he said it because he said it in like a joking way.
Yeah.
But it is funny like that. It's like whenever I go, if I talk about like a touchy subject, it almost feels like the other person is getting offended. Like that wasn't me, that wasn't me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
They
I'm
almost
just like,
shut
dude,
off, right? They
I'm
almost
not
shut
saying
off.
it's you.
Yeah, they almost shut
Yeah.
off to the point where, like, I had to write up a guy at work the other day, and he got really defensive about it. And I was just trying to explain to him what happened. He was getting really defensive about it, and it's like, look, man, that's not the attitude you need to have, man. If the attitude you need to have is like, maybe I did do this. If I did do this, how did I do this, and how do I prevent it from happening again?
Exactly.
And I think that's like the one downside the internet age has brought us, is that our communication is so poor now, or as a whole, as the human race, is our communication person to person is so poor that now we get people get very defensive and have troubles looking at it from a top level. So hopefully hopefully that fixes through time, but I mean, we'll see in the future. We'll see how this pans out.
I find that especially on social media like Twitter, like people argue back and forth, but then a third person comes in the picture and they're like, dude, you realize that when he made this tweet, he didn't actually mean it in this way, in the context that you're thinking about it, but now you're fighting with him and attacking him. You know what I mean? So then he's attacking you. So it's like, I feel like, over time. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like over time, I hope that people will just, before they start typing away or saying what's on their mouth, they should use their brain and just think about it, or at least inquire about it. You know what I mean? I know I do this, and I'm really proud of myself for doing this. Is that whenever I see something, or online, like on Facebook, someone made a post, a lot of people voice their own opinions, which is completely fine, right? But instead of typing my opinion back, or what I think, I usually try to ask them, like, hey, did you mean it in this context? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they'll explain it to me, right? Whether they meant it in that context. I feel like that's a more professional way, a more mature way too, of just handling things and not making things blow up.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So, do you have any other things you want to cover? I think we covered pretty much my whole list.
Honestly, probably, if I were to say something, it'd probably be I'd love, especially in this day and age where everyone is playing video games. You see, our kids playing video games, or the kids, everyone's getting into it, right? It's becoming like a new norm. Right? And there's a big stereotype that a lot of dudes play video games. Dudes are very good at video games, but nobody really talks about the girls.
That's true.
And I would love to see, I guess this is one of the changes. If I could make a change in the world, I would love to see a community, in the future, where it's like both genders are equalized in the gaming world. We know in person, in sports and stuff, obviously, there's men's soccer, girl, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in video games, like, there's no need for a girls league, you know what I mean? There's no need for a boy, unless if it's like for fun, girls versus, that's for fun stuff, right? But like, there's no need for that, or there's no need that tension that's like, oh, girls are very bad at video games, she sucks.
Well, I think
if you think about it,
I think it's gonna happen. I think the only reason why it's like that now is because when I was growing up, it was only the guys that played, right? Girls thought it was boring and stupid. And so I think it's just now that video games is so widely accepted across, all races, all genders, is that we're going to get to that point where it's acceptable no matter who you are. That it's just like watching a movie. It's a piece of entertainment. So
I cannot wait to get that, especially in terms of, like, I know in a lot of I love watching female streamers or YouTubers that are blowing up and stuff, and making like kind of like a comfortable zone, inspiring other girls to game, right? That's really nice to see. But it's also like, I've seen it in the more competitive side. It's really brutal when it comes to like games like Call of Duty or Valorant. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard all the nastiest things being said to girls, And some of it, some is because the girl is not doing good in the game, she's
Mhm.
underperforming, and sometimes it's when she's doing good, but the guy is like hurt, like like almost like toxic masculinity,
Yeah,
like his ego couldn't handle that this girl gamer is beating him, so he has to talk smack, right?
maturity,
I just
right?
wish that wouldn't be a thing. I wish you could just be like, hey, like that was amazing, good job.
Yeah, good game.
um yeah, exactly, just accept it, admit defeat, don't let your toxic masculinity get in the way. Just learn from that. That'd be amazing. It's the one thing if I could change, but again, like through time I feel like that will change and we'll see more girls playing video games. Obviously, right now, it's rare to see girls to play like FPS games.
Yeah,
And you know it's because when they try, I know this personally because I have friends that are girls, right, who play video games, and some of them want to get into like Valorant. I'm like, yeah, let's do it, let's play sometime, and I'll play with them, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, this is why you guys don't play, because you get like harassed. Like,
yeah.
people play video games to just chill out. Like, I come home from a long day of work and I get on to play video games or relax, shoot some stuff,
Have a good
it's
time.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But imagine coming home from work and then like you get on and you get harassed. You're like, what the hell is, like, I never want to play again. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's
Like,
not welcoming.
yeah. No, I definitely agree, man. And like I said, I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see it'll be completely different. I think. So I hope that pans out. I think it's just gonna take a
Yeah.
generation, for
True.
to kind of set in. Because I think we're starting to see that now. I think we're starting to see more female gamers get accepted.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's just all a matter of time until it's more widely accepted. But
True.
But yeah, man. I mean, thanks for coming on, dude. I appreciate it. It was good to get to know you. I'm sure some of the people here got to enjoy the conversation we had and really get to understand you on a different level. And I have grown a lot of respect for you. I got to see how
Oh, thanks, man.
see your thought process. I think you got a good head on your shoulders and very mature for your age, whatever that is. So I get
appreciate it.
you have some good wisdom set at a good age. So I think
I
you're gonna do pretty
appreciate it.
well in your life, man.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out to me and having me on the show. I know this is like a first time thing where you're asking a lot of deep questions and stuff. And matter of fact, I've never shared this kind of stuff to my own audience, so that's why I brought them over here
Yeah, I
to
mean,
listen. Because it's cool. It's cool what you're doing. I really appreciate, especially at times like this. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
reaching out to content creators, big or small. It's really nice, man. I appreciate you having me on here.
yeah.
Really
Well,
cool.
we'll have to do it again sometime for sure.
Oh, hell yes.
Do you want to give a quick plug to anything that you're doing or anything like that? People can where they
Oh,
can check you out at.
you can check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/XOIbby. I know the biggest thing with that name is that people say Zombie. I've heard it all, Gibby. So it's actually a little backstory about the X and O means hugs and kisses. I took inspiration from that because I used to write letters
Okay.
back in the day. So I don't have to even teach kids how to write letters anymore, but I used to signature my letters XO, or like when your crush would send you a letter and she'd write XO. That's how the whole thing started, but you know. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
thanks. Yeah, that's all.
All right.
I hope everyone have a nice evening, a nice day. Always look at the bright side of things, no matter how tough it gets. Remind yourself that, hey, if today is shitty, you know what I mean. If today's been a bad day, there is always a tomorrow, and you can make tomorrow a good day.
Yeah, that is very true, man. Well, thanks again, man, and we'll have to be keep in touch.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll see you later, dude.
See ya. Take care.
All right, guys. So that was Ibby. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation we had today. I hope you guys got to learn some stuff about him, about me, about everything in life, so on and so forth. Ibby's a really good guy, and like I said, I think he has good shoulders on his head, and I'd like to see where he goes in the future. Next week we have on the docket. Who's on the schedule next week, guys? I don't remember. Oh, it's Dell. So Dell, next week is going to be a pretty good, interesting conversation. We have Dell coming on. We're going to be talking a lot about Black Lives Matter, about what is going on in the United States with the whole police situation. So considering it hits a little closer to home to him. And he also does do some streaming. We're going to be talking a lot about fighting games because he does play a lot of fighting games like I used to. And it should be a good time. So hopefully you guys can join us for that one. Other than that, guys, have a good night. This will be on YouTube later on in the week, so if you decide you want to catch it a little moment or kind of recap on parts you might have missed, that's going to be the place to go. But other than that, guys, I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of music, and then we're going to call it for tonight. So have a good night, everybody.